Hey, it's Lee Henkin here from Hyper Prospecting. Thanks for tuning into this video. So in this video, we're going to be looking at kind of a high-level overview of targeting the right sales leads with cold email. Okay, how to identify, target, and build lists of target prospects and accounts. This is obviously a pretty important part of the process because it doesn't matter how good your email copy is if you have a poor bunch of poor quality data. If you've built a list of prospects that aren't exactly the right fit for your offer and the messaging you put in front of them, you're never going to be able to generate consistent and predictable long-term results. And so there's a lot of kind of methodical thinking that needs to go into how you select the right accounts and the right prospects to target, and then actually build out that list of accounts and prospects. And, a lot of people just brush over this and don't really put the methodical thinking into it. So, just like the previous video, I'm going to be giving you more of a high level kind of overview and more how to think about this the right way than kind of tactics. So let's say you want to run a campaign. You need to obviously then work out which are the right accounts to target and how to select them. So basically what you want to do, there's kind of a few questions you want to ask yourself to kind of build out or get clarity around the list of companies, and then filter down to the actual prospects at those companies to reach out to. But in terms of kind of selecting the right accounts or the companies to target, you really want to be looking at kind of questions or asking yourself the kind of questions like, who's most likely to be predisposed to my offering, who's most likely to be interested in the offering, like why are they most likely to be interested, why would these type of companies be interested in it. Another thing you can do as well is look at like your existing clients, like who are the most profitable clients you've worked with and like why, what's kind of the commonalities between them. That's a good way to kind of narrow down on the right accounts to target for a cold email campaign, is actually to look at like who you already work with, because that will give you a lot of clues to make kind of your list building and targeting a bit easier. They're the kind of things you want to think about in terms of selecting the right accounts to target. Okay, so it's really kind of working out what the common denominators or characteristics are of like a specific group of accounts or companies, and like why these particular companies are more likely to be interested in what you're offering. So it could be like, I don't know, maybe you do kind of some kind of, let's just say you offer sort of shipping insurance for e-commerce companies. Okay, so basically, and then let's just say it's specific type of e-com platforms that you work with, like PrestaShop, Shopify, WooCommerce. So this is kind of how you think about it. It's like you look at what your offering is, and then you kind of work out which companies are going to be most likely interested in that or a fit for it. Because that's really where like being able to generate those top of funnel growth opportunities starts. It starts with like the right companies who are most likely to be interested in that offering first and foremost, and then basically putting that messaging in front of them to see if they're interested or not, or identify those top of funnel growth opportunities. So that's really how to think about kind of selecting the right accounts. It really all just comes down to working out which type of companies are going to be a fit for your offering and like why they're going to be a fit for it. So just kind of looking at some logical and reasoning thinking around it, and methodical thinking to try and sort of get that defined fit in your mind. Once you've done that, once you've got the companies sort of worked out and you've defined that, the next part of it is defining the prospects at those accounts to target. Okay, so depending on the size of the companies and a couple other sort of factors, like you're typically going to have, you might have multiple decision makers or like key stakeholders at accounts you need to target or that you can target. And so depending on the types of companies you want to target, this can either become sort of more complex or less complex. So, for example, if you're targeting like large enterprise level companies, and you need to reach kind of the marketing department, let's just say you've worked out that it's the marketing department that you got to reach, and it's a large enterprise level company, then they're probably going to have like multiple decision makers in that department. They might have multiple marketing directors, they might have like VPs of marketing and sales, stuff like that. And then what you'd need to do is kind of identify and filter out which specific marketing directors are the ones you need to target. And that's kind of where like research comes into it. So you can just use something like LinkedIn, for example, to build out the list of accounts, then filter down to the marketing department as an example. And then you'd basically get the entire list of decision makers in that marketing department. And you can kind of work out just from that research who would be the actual decision makers to reach out to. So that's kind of an example of like larger enterprise level companies where you're going to have multiple potential decision makers and stakeholders you need to work with. With smaller companies, it's going to be a bit different because typically you're really only going to have one decision maker, and it's honestly just like a lot easier to define who to reach out to. Pretty much because it's just going to be the business owner, CEO, managing director. This is usually much easier. You can just reach, direct to them with what your offering is, okay, since they're the kind of ultimate decision maker. Okay, so basically kind of the things to think about in terms of defining prospects to target is really who are the prospects at these accounts I want to target that can make the decision or can at least give me a bridge to the decision maker themselves, okay? And really the size of the company in many cases is going to determine this because, as I've sort of covered with a larger company, you're going to have kind of different decision-making hierarchies involved. And in many cases, actually, with kind of these large enterprise companies, you want to be able, it's a good idea to actually reach kind of, say, as an example, a marketing decision maker, because they can kind of give you that bridge to the actual CEO of the company. And in many cases, the CEO is going to want to know what you're offering and things like that. And then that relationship with that kind of marketing decision maker becomes really important because they're essentially like selling what you do on your behalf in a way. That's kind of the things you need to think about with that. So it's a lot simpler with smaller businesses because you typically can just go for the business owner, but then with larger enterprise level companies, you're just going to need to consider who are the multiple decision makers and stakeholders there. Okay, so that's a really important thing to think about. The ultimate thing to think about with defining the right prospects is literally just who has the decision making capability or who can get you to the ultimate decision maker if it's kind of a larger company. So they're really kind of the main things you want to think about when it comes to selecting the right accounts and prospects to target. So, basically in terms of putting it all together, you're going to start with the accounts first and then you filter down to the prospects. That's really the best way to do it. Okay, like identifying the companies who are going to be most likely to be interested or best fit for whatever it is you've got, and then identifying the prospects who are most likely going to be able to make a buying decision about what it is you've got or what you're offering, or at least get you to the point of contact with the person who can make that buying decision. Okay, that's kind of the methodical thinking that needs to go into kind of your list building and how you select the right accounts and prospects to target. It's not about just slapping up keywords and lead finder tools and things like that. You actually have to really be much more methodical about this. And the larger size companies you work with, or kind of those enterprises, you're going to have to be really methodical about it because of the kind of the varied decision-making hierarchies, authorities involved, and actually put kind of some serious thinking into it. So that's pretty much it, really. Hopefully that gives you a bit more of a kind of high-level overview of how to think about your list building and targeting the right accounts and prospects for your cold email campaigns. So I'm not going to go into kind of specific list building tools and strategies to actually source data. I'll cover those in other videos. This video is just about kind of the high-level overview and thinking that needs to go into how you select your accounts and prospects for your campaigns. So that's basically it. Hopefully that gave you some value. If you want to find out more about this and if I can help you further with cold email, feel free to book a call or reach out and we can just chat about some of the options that might make most sense for you. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.